All right, good morning. Welcome to Getting Hyped with Hyperdocs. I think I just called it on the Matrix Hyperdocs. So I'm super pumped about this. I love Hyperdocs, and I think they have some serious magic whenever we're thinking about virtual learning. And the great thing is that a lot of them are already created, and you can find them and just spruce them up, make them match you and your content and your learning targets, and just you don't have to recreate the wheel. So that I love it. For those of you, I think, did everybody get the agenda? If you've not gotten it, let me know. I'll post it one more time. Okay. There's the agenda. I want to make sure that everybody has that because I do have some links in there today, lots of links that I think will be very helpful for you so you don't have to find everything on your own. And if you all don't mind, would you please click on the very first link where it's just please answer this questionnaire. It's one question, it's multiple choice. And I just want to see like where we're at. So click that first link and tell me your experience with Hyperdocs. And if you have not used Hyperdocs before, that is perfectly fine. Oh, and I should say it's also anonymous, so you don't have to worry about other people seeing what you selected. Okay. Awesome. Okay, sweet. We got a blend, and that's awesome. So a lot of us have heard of Hyperdocs before, but we've never seen them or like use them in our classroom, and that is perfectly fine. Okay. So today we're going to be really focused on what makes a good Hyperdoc and why they're useful. So for those of you in the majority that have heard of Hyperdocs or seen them, a Hyperdoc is not just something with links. I mean, it is, but it's so much more impactful than that, and that's really what I want you to take away from this today. All right, so I'm hopping back over to the agenda, and I'm going to make my screen be bigger here. I wanted to give you all a chance to see what a Hyperdoc was, so I've got this one here, and it's just one for instructional technology that I planned on using for like a longer session. If you want to take a look at that with me, you're more than welcome to, or you can just look at what's on my screen. So if you've heard of Hyperdocs before, but you never used them, then this is going to be helpful for you to be able to visualize what it's going to look like. So a Hyperdoc is broken into different sections, and it doesn't have to be exactly like the one that I have here because this is just a template that I used. So you're going to start off with an engagement piece or a hook or something to grab their attention. One of my favorite things to do for this is usually like a what are you wondering question where I could post a picture or a GIF or just a short little video to get them thinking about what this lesson is going to be about. You want it to be geared and tied into your learning target, but this is just like that deep dive to where you can capture their curiosity. And I know that when I was in the classroom, Lindsay Hite and I, whenever we were creating these for science, those GIFs are an amazing way to start with those. And if you don't know what a GIF is, let me know and we can talk about that sometime because they're super fun. I'm really excited about those too. So after you have hooked them, you've engaged them, then you're going to give them a chance to explore the content. This is kind of where they're going to jump into what they're learning, and they're going to find out and take notes and just take some time to explore that learning target, explore whatever it is that you're trying to show them. So you can do this in a few ways. You can do this with YouTube videos. You can do this with videos that you created in Screencastify. You can use Newsella articles or articles wherever you find them, a news article anywhere. You can use a map. You can use anything that will teach them the content. And my favorite thing to do is to give them choices. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to focus like on them doing all of them, if that makes sense. Like you want to give them a chance, because some students are readers and they're able to actually understand and read that language and understand exactly what it is that the article is wanting them to get from it. But some students would rather watch a video. And then other students might be able to look at maps or something and decipher all of that content themselves. So give them a few options to learn it, and some of them might use all three, and that's okay. But you're giving everybody a chance to see and explore that content. After that, you want to have a chance for them to stop and think. Maybe jot down some notes. Maybe just take a few moments just to think about what they've explored. I always required notes because I was like, I want to know that you watched it or you read it. And then after that, you're going to give them a chance to apply or to show what they've known. So a little bit like of a table to where they can go in and say, okay, this is what I got from this. This is what I got from this. This is what I got from this. And you don't have to have them fill all of this out. You could have them fill just 2 out. You could pick whichever ones you wanted to. And I also want to pause right here because each of these are different examples from other people. I didn't create these, but they're just different examples of a Hyperdoc. So if you ever want to jump into one of those, you're more than welcome to. Okay. Then after they've had a chance to apply, to think about, to pause and think and jot down what they know, give them a chance to explain. Now, in a class, a normal class, you would say, turn to your shoulder partner and explain what you've learned. Right now, things are a little different. So you could use that comment feature inside of Google Classroom, or you could use the chat window inside of Google Meet, or you could just have them explain to their parents or explain to a sibling or explain to a teddy bear about what they have learned. And then after they have their thoughts all together, you want to give them a chance to share it. In a classroom, that might be having up a chart paper and then walking over and sticking a sticky note on it, like a parking lot. Or it could be them just sharing out with the class, like a whole discussion. But in virtual learning, how can we do that? Well, Padlet is a good option. If you don't know what Padlet is, let me know, because I hate when I throw tools out and then people are like, I don't really know what that is. You could use Flipgrid. You could use anything. And like, if I ever throw a tool out and you're like, I don't know what she's talking about, please use that chat window. I have resources that will show you all of that. So I've already got them created. I'll make sure you get the links if you need them. You could just use a Google form, and you could embed the answers of that Google form on a different site or whatever. You just want to give them a chance to share out, and that's going to be so important for virtual learning in order for our kids to be able to have that connection. And I forgot to mention, you could have them share it out with Google Meet. Duh, which is obvious, right? The first one was Padlet. I think that's the one I said first. Yes, I'm going to type them out. That way I can remember to go back in and give you all the information. I'm typing some in that I didn't say out loud, but I'm thinking of them now and they're just pouring into my brain. Okay. And does anybody else have a different idea of how they could share out, like the students could share out what they have learned? That's Padlet. Oh, and I'll put Hyperdoc in here. Yeah, Padlet is the one that looks like little Post-its, and it's pretty cool. And I do have resources for all of those already created. Whenever I email you all out the video, I'll make sure to include those links if you're interested. And Seesaw could be a good one. Yeah. They could do a discussion in Google Classroom in those comment sections. Absolutely. Yeah, awesome ideas. Any chance for them to have a connection would be phenomenal. And I will make sure that you all get those. For those watching the video at a later time in the future, I will add them to the agenda. So wherever you watch this video, the agenda will be there. Awesome. Y'all are killing this discussion. Great job. Not kill, that's a poor choice of words. You are the bomb. Okay, so after you've had a chance to share, have them stop and read through or listen to everybody else's discussions. Sometimes whenever I had a rowdy class and I was like, yeah, y'all aren't doing this, I had a little chart, a little table beside of this to where they could share 3 takeaways from somebody else. And with virtual learning, that might be important. Or if it's something like Padlet or Flipgrid or Google Classroom, then the students can reply to one another. So you could say, I want to see you replying to at least a few people. Okay. And then finally, like down here at the bottom, you have 2 more left. Well, actually 3. You have a chance for them to create. So for this example, I said create your own Hyperdoc. For a science example, like let's say that we were learning about the water cycle, I might say, okay, now take a chance and explain to me, create something that shows that you understand what the water cycle does. It could be a Screencastify video where they are explaining the water cycle with Google Slides presentations. Or it could be a lab that they created with little Ziploc bag that they hang on the window and it's showing the water is evaporating and then condensation's all going on. It could be them creating a lab report, or it could be them, if it's a social studies, that could be them creating a map and telling a story about what happened at that point in time. So you're just giving them a chance to create something. And I want to pause for a second, because a lot of times at this point, teachers are like, oh my gosh, that's so much to grade. Pick the ones that you want to do. You don't really have to go up here and grade all of this, and don't tell your students this. And students, if you watch this, don't tell your friends. I will know. But scroll down to where they have their creation and give them a chance to post the link, which I didn't do here. You want to make sure that you have that, like paste a link here. That way you can get to wherever they're going. Go to that section, click the link that they share, and just focus on that. Because that right there is going to tell you if they understand the content. And if they understand the content, well, that means that up above, they've had that connection with whatever you've posted, with all of the materials that you've shared. And then I also always check the reflection too, because here you could have all of these types of questions to show reflection, but that's also where you could say, what 3 things did you learn from your friends? What did you see from them? And you can see if they've actually watched or listened to other kids. And then, of course, down at the bottom, you have extensions. That way, because some kids finish early and they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs because they've rushed. And until you can give them feedback and say, well, Johnny, you really rushed through this and this is not your best work, then they can have like a Quizlet down there. And they could have just a Kahoot or anything to help them pass the time until you can give them that feedback that they need. Okay, so in a gist, that was just me running through the sections of a Hyperdoc, and you don't have to name them exactly what I have here. But I want to pause before I jump into some templates that are already created, some Hyperdocs that are already created, and I want to see if anybody has any questions. Okay. I don't see any in the chat box, but when I send out this video, you know, the emails that I send with, hey, here's the link. I really enjoyed the session with you guys. I'm going to also include all of the links for those sharing resources for students, as well as some links for extensions. So if you get those and you have questions about any of those little side pieces that I share, then let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those. All right. So I'm hopping back over to my agenda and I'm going to close out some of my windows there. Underneath that, if you are a person and you're like, I just love to create the stuff myself. That way I know exactly what goes into it. It can be solely created by me. Then this Hyperdoc planning sheet right here on number 3 is for you. So I'm going to click on that, and it's a forced copy. So you're going to have all kinds of different templates, so you won't have to actually make the doc, but you can put in all of the materials. Okay. So just a little planning sheet up here at the top, your desired outcome, just to kind of help you with your planning. And you don't have to use this. Don't feel like you have to, but it's just a resource that can help you get started. So here are some popular learning cycles. So for mine, I use the right here, the Hyperdoc model. But if you want to make it shorter, like if you teach smaller kids or you want the lesson to be shorter, you can have an explore, an explain, and an apply. It's a mini Hyperdoc. So it won't take nearly as long, because one like this might take a few days, even in class. But especially with virtual learning and if they're doing other topics, other subjects as well. Oh, thank you, Kelly. It's pretty important that I share it. Sorry about that. That's what happens when I share so many links. Okay, if you have made a copy of the Hyperdoc, when I change it, or sorry, if you made a copy of the agenda, you can change the link to this. And if you're looking at my copy of it, I'm going to change it on mine. Sorry about that. There you go. Done. So you have different types of learning cycles that you can pick. There's the workshop model. I know in Franklin County with thinking strategies, we use that a lot. And we use connect, teach, engage, application, reflection. So you have the mini lesson and everything built right into that. You have templates that you can pick from. That way you don't have to make the doc. It just makes a copy of it. Or you can use an existing Hyperdoc and just delete everything out and recreate it from scratch, or change whatever you want. Or you can just open up a Google Doc and completely start from scratch. This section 3, would be a great place for you just to jot down some, like, I want to get an article from Newsella. I want to get this GIF. So you can just put it all in there. And this would be nice if you're working with a team to create a Hyperdoc. You could make a copy of this, and you can then go in and work together. Like you can jot your notes down and work together on that. So at the main bottom, if you're completely new to not to Hyperdocs, but to Docs, then you can check out this link right here, and it'll help you get used to some of those format features. And let me know if that one's also like view only. I hope it's not, but it might be. If it is, I'll fix it. Okay. So that's the planning sheet. Do you all have any questions about that? All right. If you have questions, continue to type. I want to make sure. Oh, we're doing great on time. I can pause for a minute. It felt later than what it was. Okay. So for me, whenever I was using those planning sheets, I like to print them out and write down, because I'm more of a, if I'm doing something on my screen, but I'm planning to, I'm really good at getting lost in my tabs, and I'll have like a million tabs open and I won't be able to find anything. So I'll make a note to myself like, oh, okay, check this out, check this out. It just helps me keep my brain organized. Even my brain has a lot of tabs open. Okay, so I don't see any questions popping up, but like I said, if you're typing, please feel free to keep doing that. Number 4 on our agenda is where the magic happens. I have a lot of resources for you. Okay, the first one, or actually the first few, the first 3 are Hyperdocs for everybody because they are a ginormous list and curation of Hyperdocs. I'm going to click on 4A, and this is a Padlet that tons of educators from Twitter and other places have gotten together to share out Hyperdocs. And you might be like, oh, look at all of these. How would I ever find what it is I'm looking for? And although they don't have standards tied to them, you can use the keyboard shortcut Control and F. Just click both of those buttons at the same time, and you can search for different things. So like, let's say that I'm looking for, let's say that I'm looking for reading, because I know that word's going to be in there. You can press enter, and everywhere that read is available, it's going to highlight that, and it's going to take you to it. And let's say that maybe I'm looking for math. I know those are pretty generic. Like, you wouldn't want to just do that if you were looking for something, but look and see exactly what you're talking about. And a lot of these items are going to be in there. But if you're like, oh, that one don't have anything for me because you saw I've typed in rocks and water and nothing came up, then there's other ones too. Like Hyperdocs for Everyone Part 2 is a Google site. And instead of it being a Padlet, which this is what a Padlet is, those little Post-it notes that people have shared, this one's a little bit more organized, I think. It's easier to scroll through there and say, I wonder, I might like this one. This is, what is poetry? I like that. And you click on it, and they're going to have different settings. So scroll through, and if that looks like one that you would be interested in using, then you can go to File and make a copy. Click OK, and then that copy is going to be yours. And anything that you change is not going to change the master doc. It's going to be perfectly fine. I also need to point out, like, how do you hyperlink these words? So if you've never done that before, you're just going to get a link. Let's pretend that this is a link that I want my students to have. I would just copy that URL and come over to wherever I want it to go. Highlight that word. Press this little link button beside of the comment button. And you can paste that directly there, and it makes that a clickable link instead of just words. You can do that same thing to pictures. You can hyperlink those and everything else. Okay. I also want to point out that Hyperdocs don't have to just be Google Docs. I actually prefer them to be in slides because you can embed videos directly onto that, and they can go from slide to slide to fill out the text boxes and stuff. So if you were wondering that, you can totally make them anywhere that you want to. Also up here at the top of this one, you've got different sections, like he's got it broken down into math, Hyperdocs, and language arts, technology, science, social studies, kindergarten, and preschool, which would be cool to look at if you teach the little people. It's just, they'll be shorter and easier to understand. And I mean, he's got it for everything. It's broken down. And then the Ditch Book one is also a Padlet. You can use that same shortcut, the Control F, to find resources directly for you. It takes them a second or two to load because they're so massive. But I know whenever I was at home in Stamping Ground, when I lived there, that this was really hard to load. So if you are looking for a specific Hyperdoc and you can't find anything, and you're like, God, I really just wish that I could find something, shoot me a message and I will be more than happy to help you find resources for your Hyperdocs and for the content that you're specifically looking for. So you can always use me as a resource for that. I'm not going to go through all of these because most of them are going to work exactly the same way. They're either going to be that Google site or they're going to be a Padlet. So you can look through those and find the one specifically for you and your content. But down here at the bottom, I do have Hyperdocs Facebook. And this is a public group. I picked this one. There's so many of them, but I picked this one because I know that not everybody has a Facebook, and that's perfectly fine. But with public groups, even if you don't have a Facebook, you can still get in there and you can still see everything that's going on. People are sharing and giving away Hyperdocs in here like crazy. If you do have a Facebook account, you can join this public group and you can ask questions and people are going to start giving you resources. So like if you had a question, you're like, does anybody have a Hyperdoc over order of operations? They're going to be like, yeah, here you go. Here's a link. You can make a copy of this one and I'll be happy to share. So there's tons of free stuff. Always look for the freebies before you go to Teachers Pay Teachers, because I know as educators, we're all in the same boat. We don't make a whole lot of money. So use the free stuff. Not saying Teachers Pay Teachers is bad, but I know it can be an addiction for some of us. And then the last thing that I want to say before we open up the discussion, and I'm going to give you all a chance to start creating your own, is if you use Twitter, you can go here and you can go use the hashtag Hyperdocs, and you can find all kinds of free resources that way too. People are giving away everything. And I forgot to hyperlink this one, but if you all saw this on my Facebook the other day, I seriously love this Hyperdoc. So it's from Slides Mania, and when the students click over here, this is a Google Slides presentation. When the students click over here, it's taking them to different pages, but it's really just different slides. So if you're interested in that, you go to this website and make yourself a copy of that digital handbook. Right, I've confused my computer right here. So open in Google Slides, you can click that and you can make yourself your very own copy. All right. So that is pretty much it. I do have a copy of the Hyperdoc Handbook. So if anybody would like to borrow that, I can send it to you. It's just a book, but really you can find everything that you need online, and everything is free. So do you all have any questions for me? I wanted to make sure that I gave you plenty of time to explore this, because it's going to be one of those things where it's like, if you don't use it, then you're going to forget about it. But I wanted to make sure that you had time to play. While you all are typing in your questions and your comments, if you have anything that you would like to share, if you've created a Hyperdoc before and you would like to share that, let me know. Like, drop a link into that chat box and I will, we can pull it up and we can talk about it. I'll share it out on Facebook and give you a hashtag FCS Lemonade. But yeah, so here is the sign-in sheet for today. Oh, actually, hang on a second before I send this out. I need to add Hyperdocs as an option, because the last few times I've forgotten to do that. Okay, Hyperdocs is going to be number 1 on this form. So there that is. And directly after this, Kelly, if you want to find it, you're more than welcome to. I would love to see it. I'm going to have the anonymous feedback form too. Amy, I have. There's tons of high school Hyperdocs out there. Like, my favorite thing to do to find Hyperdoc Padlets or Padlets of anything is just typing in like Hyperdoc Padlet high school and see what comes up. Just doing a Google search. But I have seen teachers using them in high school before. Amy, I mean, just thinking about like what the students can do with the pad or with the Hyperdoc, I think they can. I just, with art, it's hard because I don't know a whole lot of art teachers, because, like other than you all, because you all are my favorites. But I just thinking about like what you can do with a Hyperdoc, I would see it would be very beneficial for art because you could have them study, like you could hook them with a GIF or with a art piece of some kind. But then when they're exploring, you could take them to like Google Arts and Culture or whatever and have them explore art there. And then you could have them on the application and the creation to create their own art. So Kelly shared out one that she has created. And Kelly, is it okay if I share this? I know you posted the link, but is it okay that I share it?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. You want to talk about it? You know more about it than me.
Well, I don't know. Can you all hear me? I have my headset on, so I'm not sure.
We can hear you.
Okay. So what Stella's showing, last year when things all became crazy and we had to go digital, like I was really worried about the kids not being able to access the commonly used sites during our NTI review work. So I went ahead and like put this together. It was a pre-made template. So when Stella was talking about how you can just use someone's and delete everything and put your own in, that's kind of what I did here. So you can see I had the NTI menus from day 1 to day 15. Again, this was at the start. And then just some other things that we used. What she's showing there on the bottom, we did Liberty Kids a lot. There was some neat science videos, which you all should, if you're interested, those are really great. We listened to 6 Minutes, the podcast there, and did a lot of quizzes for social studies. And then up towards the top, so if you could scroll up for me there, we did Reading Plus. So this year I would probably put iReady because we're going to use that. Khan Academy for math, Prodigy, which is gamification. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. And then Typing Club because they need to be practicing their keyboard skills. So just some easy things, but it's relatively easy to delete and then put something else that would be useful. You could even, like Stella was saying, do it for our workshop model. You could even use this template and put your hook, your lesson, if you pre-record the Google Meet where they might collaborate in breakout rooms, and then their actual independent work and reflection. So it's easily adaptable.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I love it. And I think you shared this with me back in like April. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, when I was proud of myself. I was like, look what I did.
It was beautiful. It was. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Amy, I'm going to be on the lookout for some art Hyperdocs that I'm going to share with you. They might not be, because I know there's different kinds of art. I like to say that I know about art, but like I know that there's different fortes. But I'm going to share with you some that I find. I'm going to throw out to Twitter and see what I can find there too. And I'm going to share with you some art ones. I'm going to find them. I'm going to share them with you. And I'm going to build you a PLN and we will find some resources that will help you at least get started. Because I know even in our district, art on one side of town looks completely different than art on the other. I can't wrap my head around high school. Middle school's not that way. We're all like, we teach the same standard, and I know high school is just different. But I will hook you up. And that goes for any of you. If you're like, I don't see any of these resources on the Padlet that are beneficial to me, let me know and I will definitely hook you up. So with that being said, I know that we have about 20 minutes left of the session, but I want to give you a chance to go and explore Hyperdocs on your own. You have tons of resources to look at. You can create your own, and I'm going to be here until 10 to answer any questions. So if you're better at working quietly, you're more than welcome to hop off of the Google Meet call. If you want to work and know that I'm over here and you can hop over here at any time, you're more than welcome to do that. But thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll be happy to assist. We do not have unlimited Padlet. Unfortunately, it's very expensive for some reason. Like, it used to be completely free. My workaround for that is to just delete Padlets and reuse them, because you can create a Padlet and delete them and just keep recycling. I'm going to stop the recording too. So if you're watching the recording video, you can use the last 20 minutes of this session to complete your Hyperdoc.